we did a study on exits of 7 investor groups, 100 exits, and we asked them what were the primary drivers for success and failure for those exits. And what was interesting about that was the 3 factors were the same for both. So I'll ask you, what do you think the 3 factors were?
Oh, I couldn't begin to
I'm
guess.
putting you on the spot, right?
Oh, man.
Okay. So I'll give you the answer. Timing. Timing could be the timing of the investment. Is the technology too early or too late? Timing of the exit. And if you think about AI, boards could be looking at the trends going on in the M&A activity. What's going on in that sector? The second area was the management team. And the third was board governance. So in our evolution of how we look at deals now, we've found that to be true, is that I will not look at a deal unless we have some sort of line of sight that's board governance activity. If we can't be a board observer or we can't be on the board, we're not interested in being involved in that deal. We feel with the expertise of our now 225 members, we bring more to the table than just writing the check. And we found that to be true. And we just went through a due diligence process with an AI technology that's looking to help the answer engine optimization that's beginning to overtake search engine optimization using AI, where the founder said, look, you guys were incredible. We want you to lead our deal, but we want some of your members to be on our board of advisors. And so that's really cool. And that's part of what we bring to the table. And part of the reason our members sign up from the very beginning. You know, the studies have been done that angel investors, the reason they become angel investors are not just about making money. It's about how can they give back to founders. And this is what we're doing to help give back to founders.
Incredible. So Scott, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, given that you have 26 years of engineering rigor on what are the best practices, tell me a few more things that you all have discovered in your iterations that you feel like people aren't talking about enough, that angels individually and networks holistically tend to miss, that you guys have discovered through your iterative processes.
Yeah, we invested in a deal couple 3 years ago where we came in as one of the last investors, and there was some information that we didn't look at closely enough, and one of the things that we did not hear about when we were going through the due diligence for this particular company was that one of the board members for that company, prior to our getting involved in due diligence, had made an offer to buy the company from his investor group that he represented. Looking back on that, that was really an early signal that we had a hostile situation going on that board, because his offer was well below what we thought the market rate valuation would be for that company. Fast forward 6 to 9 months later, hostile takeover by that particular investor group. We think some unsavory things were happened by the management team that had gotten hired by that capital provider. And it was a hard lesson for our group. It was a bad failure for us. And we know now that we really want to be the last check that's written. And there were some things that we learned from that deal. Bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
As you may have noticed, we are recording this conversation live from the Angel Capital Association Annual Summit. And if you're not familiar with the ACA, this is the world's largest professional organization specifically designed for angel investors. And so If you're serious about this ecosystem or just interested in learning more, their education, resources, and community are definitely worth checking out. You can go to angelcapitalassociation.org. And I got to say, this is our second year recording live in the room, and I had an absolute blast and cannot wait to come back for future years. I hope to see you there. A quick note before we continue the conversation. Alongside the Diligent Observer podcast and newsletter, I also run an outsourced operations service specifically built to serve angel networks. My team handles things like initial screening, social media, newsletter prep, platform management, and a whole lot more. The kinds of things that either aren't getting done or shouldn't be done by busy community leaders. If that sounds interesting to you, send me a note. Now, back to it.
Well, just to put a pin in that first, thank you for sharing that, because it's super easy and fun to talk about the winners and what worked out great. It's really hard to get on a podcast and talk about the misses. Articulate for me, like, what were those takeaways? Because that is an important piece of information. It's somewhat obscure in the process. And so now I imagine you have some due diligence questions. Articulate for me what the takeaways were from that particular experience.
Well, we found that the management team was not being exactly completely transparent about the financials and the financial position of the company. That was probably poor board oversight. And therein lies the importance of strong board governance. Are they asking really pointed questions to the management team and double checking the answers? You know, you can ask a CFO, what's our cash position? But it's a whole heck of a lot different than when you say, show me your bank statement. So that's the level of rigor that needs to be done by boards to make sure that they're double checking that the answers are accurate, truthful, and transparent. Company ran itself out of cash and put itself in a scenario where they had to accept a hostile offer, and that worked out poorly for all the other investors in the group in that deal. And so that was a very difficult learning lesson for us, and but we've seen a lot of great successes over the years. In 2023, we had 2 exits that happened on one day.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I tell our members they should have gone out and bought a lottery ticket that day, because not the typical thing that ever happens to an investor group.
Yeah, that's a good day.
But what we have found, and I think we're seeing this trend nationally now, is that first of all, not all the opportunities are on the West and the East Coasts. On that particular day, we had an exit for a SaaS business that was related to the supply chain vertical, and it was a $29 million exit. And we had a high IRR on that deal, and it was about 8 to 9x exit. So, you know, what we have found is that we're not looking for unicorns. You know, we in a SaaS business, you can have a 29 or a 50 or an $80 million exit, and everybody can make a lot of money on that. So you can make a lot of money hitting doubles and not getting up there looking to hit a home run or a grand slam.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Diligent Observer. I'm your host, Andrew, and if you're an angel investor looking for essential angel intel in 5 minutes every week, I think you'd enjoy my newsletter. I send my best stuff, interesting deals, and more straight to your inbox so you never miss a thing. Subscribe today at thediligentobserver.com.